Hey everyone, welcome to the Gilbert.K show. Get ready to meet a total powerhouse. Joining us today is the unstoppable Amy Stricker, Chicago-based actress, voice artist, and dessert queen behind Piece of Cake. She's rocked the stage in hair, ragtime, and high fidelity, lit up the screen in Chicago P.D. and the globally distributed Yellow Polka Dot, and still finds time to whip up magic in the kitchen. Bold, brilliant, and bursting with talent. Please welcome the one and only Amy Stricker.
Hey Amy, how are you today?
I am wonderful. How are you?
Very good. Before we dive in, let's take a moment to watch a clip from your reel. And what we're gonna watch?
We're going to watch a clip from a short film that I did called The Yellow Polka Dot.
Excellent. Okay, let's watch it.
Are we just going to pretend that what happened last night didn't happen?
Paul makes her drink strong.
That's it? The drinks were strong?
Great. Could you start telling me a little bit about yourself and what sparked your interest in acting?
Absolutely. I am born and raised in the Chicago suburbs. And I had older cousins, female cousins growing up who did plays and dancing and figure skating. And, watching them perform just lit me up. And I also think they were my earliest role models, so I kind of wanted to be just like them.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what was one of your most memorable experience when you started out?
I had a really lovely director when I started doing theater when I was I started when I was 4, but maybe when I was like 7 or 8, I had this really, really lovely director. She was just so warm, and she really made me feel safe and so encouraged to continue performing.
Uh, okay. And how did you describe yourself in 3 words?
I am compassionate, generous, and charismatic.
Okay. And what's one fact about you that most people might not know?
I was a competitive figure skater for 10 years
Oh
when
wow,
I was growing up.
that's amazing. Wow. And what hobbies do you have and what do you do for fun other than acting?
I love nature walks, which is a little harder living in the Chicago suburbs, but I still try and find places. I love crossword puzzles, and I guess this is industry related, but going to the movies. And
Yeah,
probably my favorite thing of all is sitting down and watching a really good TV show.
that's great. That's great. Um, okay, so my next segment is a small game. We usually play on the show. It's called This or That. And in this fun game, I'll give you 2 options, and you have to pick the one you like the most or the one that fits you better.
Okay.
There are no wrong answers, and you don't need to explain your choice unless you want to. It's all about quick, fun decisions to show us more about you and the audience to get to know you. Are
Okay.
you ready, Amy?
I am so ready.
Okay, let's do it. Stage acting or screen acting?
Screen acting,
Comedy roles or dramatic roles?
dramatic roles.
Hero or villain?
Ooh, villain,
Improvisation or scripted dialogue?
scripted dialogue.
Period pieces or modern day stories?
Modern day stories,
Action scenes or emotional monologues?
emotional monologues,
Big budget blockbuster or indie film?
indie film,
Live audience or recorded performance?
recorded performance,
Biopic role or fictional character?
fictional character,
Method acting or staying in character only on set?
Staying in character only on set.
Okay, great. Let's show our audience another clip from your reel.
Okay. This is a clip of another short film that I did with actually the same production company that I did Yellow Polka Dot with. This is called The Slight.
Okay.
The unspoiled church on the one true holy mount of the transcendent and great divine master.
Religion, right.
Great. Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey or inspiration behind any work or project?
Yes. For a long time, my inspiration behind acting was to seek out community. When you're a part of a show, I'm in theater. When you're part of a show, you have this built-in family and friends, and it's really special. It's unlike anything else I've ever experienced. And I played sports growing up and was on teams, and it's just not the same. As an adult, I have different reasons. My inspiration behind acting now is because I really want to tell stories that change people's minds and hearts. I want to challenge their narratives and their indoctrinations and open their eyes to issues they might not be aware of. And
Okay.
I really want to give people the opportunity to empathize with people that they might see as other.
So, how did your experience shape your approach to acting?
Well, my experiences are constantly shaping my approach to acting. Every time I meet a new person or I try a new activity or I read a new book or I go through another breakup, my approach to acting changes because I have all this new life experience to pull from.
So, if somebody's starting out, what
Mhm.
do you recommend for actors? They want to be aspiring actors. Do they go to theater first? Do they go to film? What do you recommend?
I don't think there's any one way or any right way to start becoming an actor. I just think the best way is to take an acting class, right?
Hmm.
That's the best way to get started. But whatever motivates you, whatever lights you up, it doesn't matter if it's theater or if it's film or if it's TV or if it's animation.
Hmm.
Whatever lights you up and makes you feel like, oh, this is something I really want to do.
Yeah.
That's the way to start. But definitely taking a class to start honing and refining and learning.
Hmm. And do you have any tips to find an agent?
If I had if I had the tips, I would tell you all of them. I'm still in that process myself. It's a lifelong process. I've
Yeah.
I've been with agents. I have currently many agents all around the country. But I am still on the search for the right fit.
Okay. Okay. And what do you usually look for?
In an agent,
Yeah.
somebody who really understands me, who
Hmm.
I am as a not only a human being but as an actor, what my brand is, and somebody who really believes in me just as much as I believe in myself and really pushes for me to be in the room.
Hmm. Hmm. So what interests you? So let's talk about projects. What interests you about a project? Is it the producer, the cast, the script? Um,
It could be any of the above. At the point I am in my career, it's usually the script at this point.
Mhm.
Does the character call to me? Does she have depth? Is it a story that I want to be a part of? Is it a story that I feel is worth telling? Is it going to change people's minds and hearts?
Mhm. Great answer. So how
Thank
do
you.
you prepare for a role? So you got a script,
Hmm.
you're okay with that, you like it.
Hmm.
What do you do? How do you prepare for it?
So I read it, and then I break it down using a method that I actually learned from a lovely, lovely acting teacher who I had when I lived in LA. She calls it her macro method, and it really focuses on the big picture of the story,
Okay.
like as the director would see it. And so you try and view the story from that perspective instead of the perspective of your character. You eventually
Mhm.
get there, but first you want to see like the whole world of the story,
Yeah.
because then you understand where you fit into the story, what
Mhm.
role you're playing within the story. Then I sprinkle in bits and pieces I've learned from other teachers over the years.
Okay. Okay. And how do you like to collaborate with the director, or how does it work? So you got the script. Do you like table reads? Do you like rehearsals? Because some directors, they just do one table read, and then you'll show up on set, and then and you start filming basically. What do you like the most? What's best for you? Do you work with different this kind of directors, or you would like rehearsals, or
I think, well, most of my experiences thus far with on camera work has been there's a table read, and then that's pretty much it. You
Mhm.
know, you get on set and you go. I mean, maybe
Like
you
it's
read through a scene before filming,
yeah.
but it's just rare. There isn't that time in, on camera work because money
Hmm.
is everything,
Budgets. Yeah, yeah.
Every minute is so much money, especially the larger the budget of the film. Um, I think that there's pros and cons to both. I
Hmm.
think if you over rehearse something, then as an actor, it's easy to get stuck in
Yeah.
one way of doing something. Whereas if you're just going without too much rehearsal, you're freer,
Mm.
especially to take new direction because you haven't
Yeah.
practiced something one way too many times. I don't know if I have a preference. I think the perfectionist part of me would like to have more rehearsals, but I think I might give a better performance if I don't over rehearse something.
Yeah. 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 I heard one of the actors, they were working with a big director, and then the director said, "You walk this way, then you walk this way, then you walk this way, and then you say the line." And she told him, "No, I'm not going to do that."
Good for
Uh,
her.
I just want to do it the way I feel doing it, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Like it's like a robot. Walk this way, walk this way.
Hmm.
Um, so have you encountered something like that?
Yes, I'm not going to share details because they might listen to this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
But I
no worries.
have had an experience like that, and it was one of the most difficult. It was actually theater, and it was
Yeah.
one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult show I've ever done for that reason.
Wow. Okay.
I felt so stuck, like I couldn't bring any kind of originality or any
Mm-hmm.
real motivation to my acting because it was completely choreographed from
Yeah.
the opening second to the closing second. Now, I understand, like, I'm all for a director giving me direction, blocking
Hmm.
wise,
Yeah.
but it needs to have motivation. There needs to be a reason why I'm moving here at this time,
Yeah.
and it needs to be filled with something, not
Yeah.
just I walk here and then I walk here and then I walk here and then I walk here. Because the audience
Right.
seeing that isn't going to feel anything unless it's filled with something.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Woody Allen, I understand how he directs his actors. He doesn't give them lots of information. Basically, he just start filming, and they don't do table read or anything,
Hmm.
and they just start filming, and they let the actors do their thing because they've been hired, because they're stars and they're talented. So he lets them basically do what they want to do. Um, just a question I ask sometimes the directors this question. I ask them, how do you how do you keep your how you make sure your vision is there, but at the same time you collaborate? So my question to you is, because when you see Tarantino film, you say, "Oh, that's a Tarantino film," or Scorsese, right? They have their signature. So how do you balance, for you as an actor? How do you balance that you want to make sure the director, they have their vision, and at the same time you want to collaborate, and you want to make sure you're talented too. You're not like a robot, just they tell you do this, do that, right? So how do you balance that?
Well, I think I'm already a step ahead by the method that I use to break down a script, because I'm coming at it from that macro approach, that overhead director vision approach.
Yeah.
So I already should know what my role is in the story, why
Yeah.
I'm there, and what would be lacking if I wasn't there. So I should know the role that I'm filling,
Yeah.
and what my job is. Not like job as an actor, like my job in
Oh
that
no, yeah,
role
I know.
to
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
the
What's your
story.
role? Yeah, 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 yeah.
But I also think a, a a director that I would want to work with is somebody who is open to collaboration, who maybe lets us do it once and then gives direction, or gives direction, lets us do it, and then they're like, okay, now you go, show me your
Yeah, yeah.
vision,
Your
sort
own
of
things.
thing.
Yeah.
I just like people who are communicative.
Yeah.
As long as somebody can openly communicate what it is they're looking for and still give you the freedom to share your input,
Yeah.
that's somebody that I want to work with.
Okay, great. Um, what I think probably we touched on that. So what was one of unexpected challenge you faced when getting started?
I learned very early on that my bookings aren't a reflection of my talent. In other words, I could be really, really good, and I wasn't going to be cast as often as I'd like, because the industry is political. The world is political. Even as a child in community theater, it's all about who you know,
Mhm.
and it's a numbers game. And it's still something that I struggle with, but it's a journey, and I've learned to accept it more and more.
Yeah, yeah. Um, do you have any tips for memorization? I hear actors complain about memorization. In your case, what do you do?
Memorization is actually something that I struggle with, um, because I do have a lot of perfectionist tendencies, and I was taught very early on never to paraphrase. So I am always very strict with myself about being word perfect.
Mhm.
So what I do is I record myself saying my lines, and I just listen to it over and over and over again. Anytime I'm in the car, anytime I'm on a
Wow.
walk, anytime I'm at the gym, I just keep playing it, and eventually it's
Memorize
memorized.
it. Wow. So how far in advance do you do that?
It really depends on the project.
Yeah, yeah,
With commercial work, there's so rarely dialogue,
yeah.
and it's usually very minimal if there is. So that's pretty easy. And the turnaround is so quick that you only have a couple days. So
That's true.
that's usually sufficient. When it comes to like a short film, the sooner the better. I mean, the sooner I get the script and start memorizing, the better. If I had it my way, it'd be a couple months.
Hmm.
Most of the time thus far, it actually has been a couple months, so I've been lucky in that regard.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like to work on a feature as a lead,
Hmm.
with to have all of that dialogue. I don't know how long that would take me.
Hmm. Hmm. I know. So if what's your preference? Um, so how do you get into the scene? Like, because the way they shoot, like most directors, the way they shoot is there are different scenes. They're all over the place. It depends on the location and all that stuff. how do you get into how do you make sure that you're like flowing from correctly from one scene to another?
Um, by knowing the script inside and out,
Yeah.
by being as prepared as I possibly can be, by knowing the character very well.
Yeah.
Preparation is everything.
Okay.
And hopefully you have a script supervisor who takes care of all of the rest. And a director.
That's true. So one question, how do you see acting evolving in the next few years? And especially like now you have AI. And are you worried about AI or are you like what do you feel about that?
I definitely have concerns. It's hard to say whether or not AI will be able to improve so much that it completely mimics and replicates human beings. So much so that the human eye cannot detect a difference. Because when I watch AI now, when I see images or watch clips or whatever, I can tell the difference. Now, my mom, who's, 30 years older than me, can't always tell the difference. And I'm like, Mom, that's AI. That's AI. She sends me stuff all the time. That's AI, Mom. Really pretty picture. I love it, but it's AI. So there is a concern that it will eventually get to the point where you can't tell the difference. But
Yeah.
I don't see it replacing human beings in film for some time. It's a little bit of a different story with voiceover, as it's already happening.
Yeah.
But as far as I see acting evolving in the next few years, I have a little bit of a story that I'd like to tell. Maybe
Yeah.
story isn't the right word, but something that I wish people were more aware of. I would love for it to become more normalized to discuss the fact that actors are barely scraping by. A study consisting of 2.5 million actors found that only 2% of actors are able to make a living acting. I mean, when the strike was happening, we learned that 86% of union actors don't qualify for health insurance. I spend almost every single day working for free auditioning. Can you imagine if people in other industries like spent 95% of their time interviewing for jobs, like being called in for a second, a third, a fourth interview, and then not getting hired, and
Yeah.
then not getting paid for any of it, and then never hearing back from the company?
It's
I mean,
crazy.
I just feel like it's very archaic. And
Yeah.
I'd really love to see some dialogue around this and some real change. And in
Mhm.
fact, there's a new theater company in Chicago who recently announced they were going to pay actors $10 to anyone who
For the
was called in
audition.
for an audition.
Wow.
And you know what happened? They got bombarded with calls from other theater companies in Chicago saying, you can't do that. You can't do that.
Wow.
I mean, people are just so incredibly resistant to
Yeah.
paying actors a living wage, and it's so disheartening. And I just wish that there was more dialogue around it. So I'm trying to start that dialogue now.
There you go. Great.
Thank you for hearing me out.
Wow. That's a good idea, actually. That's a very good idea. Um, so, what's one crucial piece of advice you would give someone interested in acting? We talked a little bit about that, but is there anything? Um,
Yeah. Have a strong why. Why are you doing this?
mm,
If it's to get famous, it'll be really hard to stick with it. Trust your instincts. Don't compare yourself to anyone else. There's a quote by Theodore Roosevelt that says,
mhm.
comparison is the thief of joy.
Okay.
And there's no truer statement, especially in this line of work.
Wow. Um, what's one misconception about, or common misconception about acting that you'd like to clear up?
You have to have the thickest skin. to shield yourself from constant rejection. But at the same time, you have to stay vulnerable to allow your emotions to stay right at the surface for your work. And you can be the most talented actor in your market, but if you're too short or too blonde or you look like the director's ex-wife, you won't get the job. And it has nothing to do with how talented you are.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. How do you stay motivated and inspired during challenging times?
By reminding myself that I was born to do this, that I know that I'm meant for greatness. I know that these are words that people shy away from saying out loud and putting out into the universe, saying to other
Yeah,
people, coming off as conceited or cocky or full of themselves. But I know that I'm meant for greatness
yeah,
and I have the power to change people's lives. So I keep going.
that's great. Okay, let's. What clip we're gonna watch, Amy? We're nearing the end of the show. What clip we're gonna watch?
This is a clip from a docu-series that I worked on called The Big Lie.
911, what is your emergency?
There's a bunch of angry men outside my house wearing military gear. One of them's coming towards me. I think he's got a gun.
Can you get out the back?
No, they're in the back too.
Okay, stay calm. Help is on the way.
Okay, is there one last thought or piece of advice you'd like to share with our audience?
Yes. I have recently undergone a huge shift in mindset and energy, and I'm starting to see small changes here and there, slowly but surely. And I really do believe that the energy that we put out into the universe comes back to us. And I'd like to encourage the listeners to imagine a world we could live in if we put kind, nurturing, joyful energy out into the world instead of leading from a place of fear or scarcity mindset. Believe it or not, we do actually have control over our thoughts, but they will control us if we let them.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Thank you.
So, how can our audience connect with you or learn more about your work?
They can follow me on Instagram at It's Amy Stricker.
Okay. Are there any upcoming projects or collaborations you're excited about?
Yes, I am currently in a live show in Chicago that we had our opening weekend this past weekend, and then there's this kind of strange break. And we pick back up again Sunday evenings beginning April 13th. It's called The Jury Experience, and it's through a company called Fever. And we just found out that the Chicago cast might go on a little tour of the Midwest. So that's exciting.
That's amazing.
And oh, sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt
go
you.
ahead. No, that's good.
And I am very eager to collaborate with others to tell great stories. So if any of you out there have a story that you'd like to tell, please reach out. I'd love to work with you.
Anything, theater, film,
Anything.
anything.
As long
Okay,
as it's a good story, I'm in.
great. Are there who would you like to thank or acknowledge for supporting you on your journey?
My parents. They have always supported my dreams, both emotionally and financially. And they're really my everything.
Yeah. Is there a dream project or collaboration you're still hoping for?
Yes, lots of them. I'm only just getting started. I don't have any specifics. It's just
Okay.
I really want to tell great stories, life-changing stories. So
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
open. I'm open to collaborating with anybody who is on that same wavelength.
We're nearing the end. That's all, folks. Amy Stricker, everyone. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you so much for having me, Gilbert.
Thank you.